Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today on the bench I've got a hunter style pocket watch. It's an Elgin, and judging by the case I'd say it's pre-1900s. I can tell from the coloring that the case is made from a nickel alloy, which is pretty uncommon for a hunter style case. These are almost always either coin silver, gold, or gold filled in my experience. Besides some tarnishing, the case is in pretty good shape cosmetically. It's got some scuffing from normal use, but no major damage. The dial is pretty dirty, but looks crack-free. The hands are also mismatched. I'll have to see if I can find a replacement pair. The watch is running, which is a good sign. I'll decase the movement now and get started with the service. Most pocket watch cases aren't dust-proof, which is why it's important to have them serviced every 2 to 3 years if they're being worn regularly. This watch probably hasn't been serviced in 60 years, maybe even longer. There's some rust on the ratchet wheel here. I can remove it, but there will still be a mark visible from it. The minute hand was loose enough to fall off on its own, which is unusual. I could stake the post hole closed, but I'm planning on replacing the hands with a matching pair anyway. The dial does have a few pits in the enamel, but for 140 years old, it's in great condition. The dial side is incredibly simple, thanks to the not-so-simple winding and time-setting system. When this lever is pulled, a pin is pushed into a lever that lifts the ratchet wheel up, which allows it to interact with the minute wheel. It's overcomplicated by modern standards, but it is an interesting design. There are some pieces of debris here. It looks like a piece of enamel from the dial. There's also some corrosion here. It's already eaten into the plating and gotten to the brass underneath, which is why it's that greenish color. This looks like a piece of wax paper. Let's go ahead and remove the hour wheel now. It looks pretty good. It's got the usual grease film from a lack of service. The minute wheel's next. It's in good condition as well. The cannon pinion is friction fit like an old Swiss pocket watch, which means the post it sits on can simply be pushed or staked out. It's in good condition. As is the cannon pinion. The setting lever is attached to the spring by this screw. It's got some rust on it, which will need to be removed. This is the pin that pushes the ratchet wheel lever up, allowing you to set the time. Here's a better view of it. Now that the dial side is disassembled, let's flip over and start on the gear train. I'll start by removing the balance assembly. Now that is a lot of dust and dirt. Let's get a look at the balance pivots now. They're pretty dirty, but they look fine otherwise. The balance jewels look fine at first glance. I'll take a closer look once everything's cleaned. This movement might be the dirtiest one I've had the pleasure of working on. I'll take some close-up pictures before everything's cleaned to show the full extent. I'll remove the ratchet wheel lever now. It's got some rust on it as well. Now I'll remove the pallet fork. It seems like the majority of the grime is located on the pallet fork. I'll put a close-up picture of it here. There's also some rust on the tail end of it. I'll remove the top portion of the barrel bridge now, which holds the ratchet and crown wheels in place. This movement can be switched to either an open face or hunting configuration by moving the winding stem and crown wheel, which is why it has these two posts on either side of the ratchet wheel. This ratcheting design reminds me of the Rolex caliber 635 and 645. It's got a similar looking ratchet design for the automatic module. This ratchet wheel looks like it's in good shape though, just a little rust. The crown wheel is next. It's in really good shape. Now I'll remove the rest of the barrel bridge. The winding stem is in good condition. I'll remove the gear train bridge next and take a look at the gears and jewels. Everything was dirty, but looked okay otherwise, so let's open the mainspring barrel and take a look at the mainspring. The barrel lid looks good, very little wear on it. The mainspring is set, so I'll be replacing it. I'll be using a weaker spring to help prevent excess wear on the pivots. And that's the watch fully disassembled. I'll put a close-up picture here to fully showcase the dust and be back once it's cleaned and ready for lubrication. I'll be using 9104 for the barrel arbor holes. I'll also use 9104 for the winding stem. .9104 is also used on the crown wheels post. The ratchet wheel gets a small amount of 9504 on these upper teeth. The post here gets 9104. Now I'll lubricate the second and third wheels with 9104. The fourth and escape wheel get 9010. Now I'll flip over and do the same dial side. I'll give the mainspring a little power to help spread the lubricants around the gear train pivots. Now I'll install the pallet fork and lubricate its stones with 9415. Now it's time to install the balance assembly and see how it runs. It looks like it's running pretty well. The replacement hands finally came in, so I can put the mismatched pair in my spare parts pile. Here's the new pair. The only problem is the minute hand's post hole is too small. It's not hard to widen it, but it's one of the more time-consuming repairs. I've done this a few times on other watches, and it usually takes about an hour to do. So I'll be back once that's done. Alright, it looks like the total time for that was about 80 minutes, just to give you an idea of how long some repairs can take to do right. Trying to cram everything into a 10 to 20 minute video can make things look a lot easier than they really are, so keep that in mind. Now that everything's all set, I'll case this up and put it on the time grapher. Back when this watch was made, I believe railroad grade watches were only required to be adjusted to 3 positions, so this one is keeping time quite well. The total delta is around 16 seconds per day across 5 positions. Here's the movement. I put some of these tabs here to help keep the case screws from eating through the case. I also left this screw out because it's really not necessary to have all 3 in at the same time. And here's the watch, cased and completed. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.